Simon Ghost. Riley is the most iconic Call of Duty character who technically died twice, but somehow became more popular than the protagonists you actually play as. The rebooted Ghost maintained his mysterious persona while receiving more character development than his original trilogy counterpart. His iconic skull mask and tactical expertise made him Task Force 141's premier infiltration specialist, but this version survived beyond Modern Warfare 2 to become a central figure in the team's ongoing operations. Ghost's background remained largely mysterious, but his interactions with teammates showed depth beneath the intimidating exterior. His partnership with Soap in the rebooted series created one of the franchise's most popular character dynamics, with their professional respect evolving into genuine friendship. Ghost's tactical brilliance and dark humor balanced Soap's energy and Price's leadership, creating effective team chemistry. His character design updated his classic look while maintaining the psychological impact of his masked appearance. Unlike his original incarnation, this Ghost got to develop relationships and show personality beyond his reputation as a silent killer. His survival and continued development proved that fan-favorite characters could be improved through careful expansion rather than replacement. Bell is the most psychologically disturbing protagonist in Call of Duty history, and the brainwashing techniques used on them reveal the franchise's deepest exploration of identity and manipulation. You are Bell, a fully customizable CIA operative working with Russell Adler's team in 1981, hunting the Soviet agent Perseus during the height of Cold War tensions. You work alongside legendary characters like Frank Woods and Alex Mason, tracking down nuclear threats and Soviet operations across the globe. You have no fixed backstory, no predetermined personality, no past that isn't yours to choose. But here's the devastating truth that recontextualizes everything. Bell's entire identity is a fabrication created through advanced psychological torture. You're actually a captured Perseus agent whose memories were completely rewritten by the CIA using techniques that make Alex Mason's brainwashing look gentle. Russell Adler, the trusted mentor figure, personally oversaw Bell's mental reconstruction, erasing their Soviet identity and implanting fake American memories, loyalties, and motivations. The player unknowingly participates in their own psychological destruction, making choices that feel personal but are actually the result of mental programming. The final mission forces Bell to choose between their fake American identity and their real Soviet past, but by then the damage is irreversible. They can never truly know who they were before the torture began. Bell represents Call of Duty's most sophisticated exploration of identity, free will, and the ethics of psychological manipulation. This character experiment reveals why modern Call of Duty campaigns feel disconnected from their protagonists, because the most successful protagonist of the last 5 years forces players to question the nature of identity itself. Jack Mitchell introduced Call of Duty to the world of private military contracting and corporate warfare. Mitchell started as a regular Marine but lost his arm during combat, leading to his recruitment by Atlas Corporation, the world's most powerful private military company run by Jonathan Irons, played by Kevin Spacey. Mitchell received an advanced prosthetic arm and exoskeleton technology that gave him superhuman abilities, boost jumping, enhanced strength, and advanced tactical capabilities. His journey took him from grateful employee to moral rebel, as he discovered Irons' plan to destabilize world governments and establish Atlas as the dominant global power. Mitchell's character arc explored themes about corporate control, technological enhancement, and the privatization of warfare. His relationship with his deceased best friend Will Irons, who was Jonathan's son, added personal stakes to the conflict. Mitchell eventually joined the resistance against Atlas, using his insider knowledge and advanced technology to bring down the company he once served. His story proved that Call of Duty could handle contemporary themes about corporate power and technological warfare, though the game's mixed reception showed that innovation alone wasn't enough to satisfy the fanbase. Private Martin was Call of Duty's first protagonist, serving with the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment in Baker Company. He jumped into Normandy on D-Day, established landing zones for Operation Overlord, cleared Germans from Sainte-Mère-Église, and fought through the Battle of the Bulge. Martin never said a word because he wasn't supposed to be a character. He was you. No backstory, no personality, just your boots in the mud and your rifle in your hands. This approach worked perfectly because players in 2003 didn't need Hollywood heroes. They needed to feel like real soldiers experiencing history's biggest war. Martin established the foundation that every Call of Duty protagonist would either build on or completely rebel against. But this silent template created a problem that would nearly destroy the franchise's storytelling 20 years later. David Section Mason represented generational trauma and the consequences of his father's actions. Born in 1979, he grew up not knowing the full truth about Alex Mason's CIA work or the psychological damage his father carried. Rising through the ranks to become a SEAL Team 6 lieutenant commander, David eventually learned the devastating truth. Frank Woods had accidentally killed his father during a mission in Angola. His story in 2025 involved hunting Raul Menendez, who had orchestrated an elaborate revenge plot against the Mason family spanning decades. The campaign's branching narrative allowed players choices to determine outcomes for David and his team members Harper, Crosby, and the traitorous Salazar. David could save or lose team members, capture or kill Menendez, and even prevent or allow a global cyber attack that would cripple world governments. His decision to retire from military service in the canonical ending reflected the psychological toll of learning his family's dark secrets. David proved that Call of Duty could handle complex themes about family legacy, moral choices, and the cost of endless warfare. This sophisticated storytelling approach reached its peak with Black Ops 2, but the franchise would soon abandon this depth for much simpler characters. Kyle Gaz Garrick evolved from London police field officer to Task Force 141 equal throughout the reboot trilogy. Captain Price recruited him after witnessing his capabilities during the Piccadilly Circus terrorist attacks, where Gaz showed exceptional courage and tactical thinking under pressure. His character arc demonstrated growth from Price's student to providing emotional support and strategic insight to other team members. Gaz brought a different perspective to Task Force 141 as someone who came from law enforcement rather than traditional military background. His relationship with Price echoed the original Soap Price mentorship, but with updated dynamics reflecting modern military cooperation. Gaz's character development showed him learning to balance his moral compass with the harsh realities of international counterterrorism operations. His dialogue provided both tactical information and emotional grounding for the team, making him essential to the group's chemistry. Gaz represented the franchise's ability to create new characters that honored classic relationships, while bringing fresh perspectives to familiar dynamics. Ronald Red Daniels brought significant character development back to the World War II setting, serving with the U.S. Army 16th Infantry Regiment during Europe's liberation. Unlike most Call of Duty protagonists, players learned about Red's background and family life before the war. He came from a small Texas town and joined the military to serve his country and protect his younger brother. His campaign followed the classic World War II progression from D-Day through the liberation of concentration camps and the final push into Germany. Red's story emphasized brotherhood with his squad, particularly his relationship with Additional and Pearson, his tough-as-nails sergeant. The game showed Red's psychological evolution from naive farm boy to hardened veteran, dealing with the trauma of seeing friends die and witnessing the Holocaust's horrors. His character arc included moments of moral choice, such as deciding whether to execute surrendering enemies or show mercy. Red represented Call of Duty's attempt to return to its emotional roots while incorporating modern character development techniques. His story proved that World War II could still provide compelling protagonists when treated with respect and depth, though the game's safe approach showed the franchise was still recovering from years of experimentation. Captain Nick Reyes took Call of Duty to space and became one of the franchise's most underrated protagonists. Reyes started as a pilot but was thrust into command after half the Earth fleet was destroyed by the Settlement Defense Front, militant Mars colonists led by Admiral Salin Koch. His story emphasized leadership under impossible circumstances, making life-or-death decisions with limited resources while fighting an enemy that wanted to destroy Earth entirely. Reyes commanded the warship Retribution in zero-gravity battles across the solar system, from asteroid fields to enemy shipyards on Mars. His character development focused on the burden of command and the sacrifice required to protect humanity's survival. The campaign featured spectacular set pieces including spacewalks, zero-gravity combat, and massive fleet battles that felt like science fiction movies. Despite the game's commercial failure, critics praised Reyes' emotional depth and the campaign's exploration of duty, sacrifice, and leadership. His willingness to sacrifice everything for Earth's survival made him one of the franchise's most heroic protagonists, though the community's rejection of futuristic warfare overshadowed his character development. Reyes proved that Call of Duty could tell compelling stories in any setting, but sometimes being good isn't enough when the audience wants something different. Alex Mason was born June 3, 1933, in Fairbanks, Alaska, and became Call of Duty's most psychologically complex protagonist. He developed sharpshooting skills hunting with his father before enlisting in the Marine Corps, leading to CIA recruitment in 1958. Everything changed during the 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion when Soviet General Nikita Dragovich captured him and took him to Vorkuta labor camp. There, Mason endured extensive brainwashing designed to turn him into a sleeper agent, programmed to assassinate President Kennedy. But Viktor Reznov's counter-programming created a psychological war inside Mason's mind, leaving him unable to distinguish between real memories and implanted ones. What do the numbers mean, Mason? Became a meme because Mason spent the entire game strapped to a chair, being interrogated about missions he wasn't sure actually happened. Was he a hero, stopping Soviet chemical weapons, or was he the weapon himself? Mason's story spanned decades, from the Cold War through his appearances in Black Ops Cold War and into his son's story in Black Ops 2. His complex relationship with Frank Woods and the psychological trauma from his brainwashing created emotional depth rarely seen in military shooters. Mason proved COD protagonists could be unreliable narrators struggling with identity and trauma, establishing a psychological complexity that would define the Black Ops series. Logan Walker barely spoke, had zero personality, and represents everything wrong with Call of Duty protagonists in the 2010s. He was part of the elite Ghosts unit fighting against the Federation, a South American superpower that had successfully invaded and occupied much of the United States. Walker was supposed to emphasize family bonds and survival in post-apocalyptic America, working alongside his brother Hesh and their father, Elias Walker. The game focused on their struggle as elite operatives in a losing war against a technologically superior enemy. Walker's story emphasized brotherhood and resilience, but his lack of personality made it impossible to care about his relationships. The game ended with Logan getting captured and brainwashed by the villain Gabriel Rourke, setting up a sequel that never happened because nobody was invested in this character. Logan proved that going back to silent protagonists was a catastrophic mistake after players had been spoiled by Price, Soap, and Mason. Players wanted emotional stakes, memorable dialogue, and complex relationships. This approach nearly killed single-player Call of Duty campaigns and forced the franchise into an identity crisis that would last for years. Logan's failure demonstrated that character development wasn't optional anymore. It was essential for survival. Gary Roach Sanderson served as Modern Warfare 2's silent protagonist, proving that not every lesson from Soap was learned. Roach worked alongside Soap MacTavish in Task Force 141, participating in crucial missions including recovering the ACS module, capturing Alejandro Rojas, rescuing Price from the Russian Gulag, and raiding Makarov's safe house. His lack of dialogue made players project themselves onto his character, but here's the problem. Most fans remember his death as Ghost's death scene, rather than the protagonist's demise. Roach functioned more as a camera for experiencing other characters' stories rather than having his own personality. This approach worked in specific moments, but showed the limitations of silent protagonists when surrounded by characters with actual depth. Roach's forgettable nature would inspire the franchise to swing back towards strong character development, but first they had to learn why personality matters. John Soap MacTavish changed everything about Call of Duty protagonists in one mission, then did it again 15 years later. Born in Scotland, raised Roman Catholic, the original Soap joined the 3rd Battalion Parachute Regiment before earning his place in the legendary SAS. His nickname came from his exceptional speed and accuracy in room clearance. He was fast and precise, cleaning house like Soap, cutting through dirt. Soap started as the rookie in Captain Price's squad, but evolved into a war legend. The all-gillied-up mission with Price became iconic, not just for its gameplay, but because these felt like real people with history, chemistry, and mutual respect. Soap had personality, humor, and genuine relationships with his teammates. He proved Call of Duty could have memorable characters without losing its military authenticity. But Infinity Ward made one devastating decision about Soap's ultimate fate that would haunt fans for over a decade. They killed him off in Modern Warfare 3, and that choice reveals why the franchise struggled to create meaningful characters for years afterward. The rebooted Soap in 2022 underwent extensive character development, showing his evolution from Kyle Garrick's contemporary to seasoned Task Force 141 operative. This version maintained Soap's Scottish heritage and tactical genius while updating his personality for modern audiences. His relationship with Ghost became central to his character development, creating a bromance that fans embraced across social media and fan content. The rebooted Soap proved that classic characters could be successfully reimagined when developers understood what made them special in the first place. His chemistry with the updated Task Force 141 created some of the franchise's best character moments in years. However, his controversial death in Modern Warfare 3, 2023, shocked fans. and demonstrated that even successful character reboots weren't safe from narrative decisions that prioritize shock value over character development. Captain John Price is the only Call of Duty character who became more iconic than the protagonists you actually control, and he did it by perfecting the art of the gruff mentor who always knows more than he's telling you. The original Price evolved from Soap's mentor to co-protagonist throughout the Modern Warfare trilogy. Born around 1985 in Herefordshire, UK, he joined the infantry at 16 and graduated from the Royal Military Academy. His iconic 1,000-yard stare, weathered boonie hat, and receding hairline made him instantly recognizable across gaming culture. Price's backstory included the famous 1996 assassination attempt on Imran Zakhaev alongside Captain Macmillan, establishing his legendary status before most players even knew his name. After being captured and imprisoned as prisoner number 627, Price rejoined Task Force 141 in Modern Warfare 2. His controversial EMP launch over the East Coast demonstrated his ends justify the means philosophy that would define his character. Price represented military experience, tactical genius, and moral flexibility wrapped in a package that somehow made war crimes feel heroic. His relationship with Soap created the franchise's greatest mentorship dynamic, but losing Soap in Modern Warfare 3 nearly broke him and showed players that even legends could bleed. The rebooted Price in 2019 maintained his core characteristics while receiving updated complexity that made him feel both familiar and fresh. This version emphasized his diplomatic skills and willingness to work with foreign fighters worldwide, particularly his partnership with Urzikshtani freedom fighter Farah Karim. His relationship with CIA Station Chief Kate Laswell demonstrated his evolution into a more politically minded operator while retaining his tactical genius. The Clean House mission showed Price making split-second life-or-death decisions in realistic close-quarters combat, clearing a London townhouse with methodical precision that felt like watching a master craftsman at work. This Price felt weathered and haunted, dealing with the psychological cost of decades in Black Ops while maintaining his legendary status. Price's return saved Call of Duty's reputation for storytelling and proved that rebooting classic characters could work when developers understood what made them special in the first place. Roland Raja represented America's 1st Infantry Division, nicknamed Big Red One, in the franchise's first attempt at following a single military unit throughout the war. His campaign covered the North African Theater, Sicily invasion, Omaha Beach landing, and the final push through Germany's Siegfried Line. Roger had slightly more personality than previous protagonists, with the game showing his relationships with fellow soldiers and the psychological toll of prolonged combat. This was Call of Duty's first experiment with character development, though it remained subtle compared to what was coming. Roger proved that focusing on one military formation could create stronger emotional connections, setting up the template for the character who would revolutionize everything. Call of Duty. Vanguard featured 4 protagonists representing different World War II theaters, each bringing unique cultural perspectives to the conflict. Lieutenant Arthur Kingsley led British forces with tactical precision and calm leadership. Sergeant Polina Petrova represented Soviet female snipers, inspired by real women who fought on the Eastern Front with deadly accuracy. Private Lucas Riggs brought Australian explosive expertise and humor to the Pacific Theater. Lieutenant Wade Jackson represented American aerial combat and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Each character had detailed backstories showing how they joined the war effort and what drove them to fight. The game jumped between their individual stories before bringing them together to form Task Force Vanguard for a final mission against Nazi war criminals planning a Fourth Reich. Their diverse backgrounds and fighting styles created a well-rounded team dynamic that showcased different aspects of the global war effort. The characters were well written and voiced, but the game's reception suffered from franchise fatigue and competition with other titles. The Vanguard Quartet proved that Call of Duty could still create compelling World War II protagonists, but timing and market conditions matter as much as character quality. Staff Sergeant Derek Frost Westbrook is the Call of Duty protagonist who simply disappeared halfway through his own game, and nobody talks about how weird that actually is. Frost served as a Delta Force operator assigned to Team Metal under Sandman's command, participating in Operation Kingfish, the Battle of New York during Black Tuesday, and multiple critical missions across Hamburg, Paris, and Berlin. He was a major playable character throughout MW3's campaign, handling some of the most intense urban warfare sequences in the franchise. But then something strange happened. His character just vanished from the story without explanation, leaving many fans puzzled about his fate. Frost's sudden disappearance represents one of the franchise's strangest narrative decisions, where a main protagonist simply stops existing without any story justification. His vanishing act shows how even major characters could be forgotten when developers couldn't. Chief Petty Officer Joseph Bowman was Frank Woods' right-hand man, and the most badass SOG operative in the Black Ops universe, and the fact that Ice Cube voiced him made him instantly legendary. Bowman appeared in almost every Mason mission as Woods' trusted partner, bringing both tactical expertise and memorable one-liners to the Vietnam War sequences. His character represented the brotherhood and loyalty that defined the SOG units, always having Woods' back in the most dangerous situations. But his story ended in one of the franchise's most brutal death scenes, killed by Russian roulette in a Vietnamese prison camp, forcing players to watch helplessly as a beloved character died in a game of chance. Bowman's death hit harder than most because he felt like family to Woods and Mason. His character has gained renewed significance in recent games, as his son William Bowman appears in Black Ops Cold War promotional material, showing how the franchise's family trauma themes continue across generations. Yuri's complex backstory as former Makarov associate turned ally made him crucial to Modern Warfare 3's narrative conclusion. Originally an ultra-nationalist and one of Makarov's closest allies, Yuri witnessed Makarov detonate a nuclear device that killed 50,000 US Marines, beginning his moral awakening. He was present during key moments throughout the trilogy: the Pripyat assassination attempt on Zakhaev, the nuclear detonation in MW1, and was shot by Makarov before the No Russian Airport massacre. Yuri's guilt over his past actions drove his determination to stop Makarov's global terrorism campaign. His sacrifice to save Price from Makarov provided the opening for Price to finally kill the main antagonist. Yuri represented redemption and the possibility that people could change, even after terrible mistakes. His character showed that Call of Duty could handle complex moral themes. But this depth would be abandoned as the franchise entered its most confused period. Which Call of Duty protagonist made you actually care about the story? Let me know below.